What usually comes into your mind when you think about color grading in DaVinci Resolve are all these super professional tools that you have available and what you can do with them, but maybe you never thought about color grading quickly in DaVinci Resolve. For example, if you want to publish 2 YouTube videos every week and you still want them to look good, and that is what I want to show you today. It only takes me about 30 minutes per video to color grade it, and I would say it looks pretty good. I'm very happy with it, so let me show you how I do it. Let's directly start with the first tip, which is your app settings, and you only have to do that if you're on a Mac computer, otherwise you can skip this first step, and that is that you go into the DaVinci Resolve preferences, and there under General you activate Use Mac Display Color Profiles for Viewers and automatically tag Rec 709 scene clips as Rec 709A. This both ensures that you get the same result later in QuickTime and on YouTube as you see on your Apple display, and even if you use an Apple device, it's only important really if you also use an Apple screen, like on your MacBook, or for example if you have an Apple Pro Display XDR or the new Studio Display as I use. And step 2 is adjusting your project settings, and I would recommend you to do that after you edited your video, because if you do that before, it might slow down your editing a bit, so do it later. And all you have to do here is to go into project settings in the menu, and there you find the color management tab, where you set color science to DaVinci YRGB color managed, and after that you turn automatic color management off and you set color processing mode to HDR DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. And if you're on an Apple device, you also want to adjust the output color space from Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 to Rec 709A, but really only do that when you use Apple devices, because that Rec 709A basically stands for Apple, so it uses all the Apple color management stuff or whatever it's called then, and then you get good results. Otherwise, just leave it to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. And that's it already for the project settings. After that, you go to the media page. Can also do the next step on the color page, but media page usually goes a bit quicker. And here on the media page, you mark all clips that you shot in the same color profile and also on the same camera, except if you used the same camera twice, like let's say an A7 IV and an A7S III together and both an S-Log3, then you can also mark all those S-Log3 clips from both cameras. But if you, for example, use an A7 IV together with a drone, or in my case, your Fujifilm X-H2S right now together with a drone or so, then only mark the clips from the cameras separately. And of course, if you change color profiles in your camera, then also only mark the clips from each color profile. So in my case here, I shot a few clips in F-Log on my X-H2S, so I want to mark those clips, and then I do right click and I set the input color space to Fujifilm F-Log, so that DaVinci Resolve knows what color profile I use there. And you can directly see how much better those clips look. And this is the color management that now kicks in from DaVinci Resolve. This is not the same as using a LUT, like usually when you shoot in log profiles, you use a conversion LUT. LUTs are usually destructive, so they basically reduce the color information of your footage, but transforms don't do that. And what especially this color management from DaVinci Resolve also does is it adjusts all the tools that you later use on the color page to the footage that you use, so they all react differently, and that makes grading a lot easier. Another advantage is also that it protects your shadows and highlights, so it's not possible on the color page anymore to drag your highlights beyond 100 or your shadows below 0, and that especially helps beginners, because there it's quite common that you crush either your highlights or your shadows or both to get a certain look, and it's actually bad because you throw away dynamic range. And instead here, if you make your image a lot darker or brighter, that means that your shadows and highlights get compressed, what gives a smoother roll off, and that looks really good. And by the way, if you did not shoot in a log color profile on your camera, then you can skip this step completely, because then the conversion is basically done already, and DaVinci Resolve already recognizes that you're in the Rec 709 color space, so it doesn't have to do anything here anymore. The same counts if your log color profile is not available in DaVinci Resolve yet, which is actually the case for F-Log 2 on my new Fujifilm camera. I will tell you at the end of the video what you can do in that case. And that's all for the media page. Now you can directly go to the color page. But before we start color grading, you have to do another step. And that is that you want to group videos or video clips that you shot in the same scene or at the same location or stuff like that. It should have the same look at the end, because that makes your color grading actually a lot faster here. And this is, in my opinion, the big strengths of DaVinci Resolve. It's not just the color managed workflow, but it's also this group feature. So just mark all those clips there and group them. Of course, you can also group more, but I will only group 3 here because I know that these share the same color profile, and because I used another color profile later, that makes it a bit easier for me now. So I just group them at first. And the next step is actually a bit complicated, so I suggest you to pause the video here every time you see the settings and just copy the settings for you. And alternatively, you can also just download a power grade that I will leave in the description of this video and just apply that. That does all the steps automatically for you, so you don't have to do that. But after doing all these steps, I will also show you how you can create a power grade for yourself quickly. It's actually super easy, it's just 2 clicks. And that also saves you all these steps in the future. So don't worry, you don't have to do that all the time. And the first step here is that I want to get into my notes tree here. And here I want to press Option S 3 times to add 3 notes so that I have 4 in total. And I will also give labels to those notes. The first one adjustments, the second one CST, third one LUT, and the fourth one also CST. CST stands for color space transform. You will see in a second what that means. And LUT, as you can imagine, that's applying a conversion LUT here. And our first step will be to apply the color space transform. To do so, you go under the effects panel on color space transform and drag that onto our second node. And there you set input color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut, input gamut to DaVinci Intermediate, output color space to Rec 709, and output gamma to Cineon Film Lock. And the reason why we're doing that is that we want to prepare the footage to work with our film LUTs later, which are actually included in DaVinci Resolve. It's super nice from them, but if you would not do this step, then these LUTs would actually look super bad. So that's why this first step, this color space transform, is so important. And applying the LUT is actually our next step. On the left side of the screen, you find the LUT panel, and there's a folder called Film Looks, which you have by standard available in DaVinci Resolve. And under that, you find the LUTs Kodak 2383. And there I would choose the LUT D60. That's the standard. You can also use the other ones for certain looks, but D60 is my standard here. So you simply drag the LUT over into your LUT node, and then it's already done. But as you can see, it doesn't really look that good. It's all a bit too much. And the reason for that is that we're in the wrong color space now. Like, we have to transform that back into the DaVinci color space from the color managed workflow. So you apply another color space transform to the fourth node. And in the color space transform, you set input color space to Rec 709, input gamma to Rec 709 gamma 2.4. And important to mention here is that even if you edit on Apple devices, you should also use Rec 709 gamma 2.4 here, because the LUT that you used before transforms it to gamma 2.4. So if you would choose Rec 709A here, that would be wrong. And the next setting is output color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut and output gamma to DaVinci Intermediate. So you can see here we transform that back from what the output of the LUT is into this DaVinci Resolve color space. And here's now a little trick that will save you a lot of time in the future, because you don't want to do all those steps all the time again. So what you can simply do is to click into the Gallery tab on the left side of your screen. And in the Gallery tab, you do a right click on the left side where the folders are, and you click Add Power Grade Album. And while this album is activated, you do a right click on the preview image, and there you click Grab Still. And this is all you have to do to create a power grade. Like, now this still that you see there on the left side is actually a power grade. I would also suggest you to name that. So in that case, I would just give it the name Kodak 2838 conversion or something like that, so that I know later what that does is. And to name that, you really just have to click under it. It's a bit weird because you can't really see that, but that's how it works. And now you can use this power grade in the future on all of your other video clips, so you don't have to repeat the steps all the time. This is actually the power grade that you can also just download here in the description. But now comes the next step. You remembered that we grouped all of those clips that are similar. And now I want to have this power grade in the group. And the reason why I created this power grade now on a clip level and not for the whole group was simply that I wanted to save this power grade, because if you create that on a group level, you can't save it on a power grade, which I find super annoying. So first do it on the clip level, and then later you can apply that to a group. So now I want to delete all nodes again, because I want to apply them to the group clip, otherwise it would have that double. So I do a right click and I choose reset all grades and nodes. And on top of the node viewer, there you find the text clip, which when you click on it, opens a drop down menu. And in this drop down menu, you can choose group post clip. So that's what you should choose. And group post clip means that all the adjustments that you do there now get applied to all clips in the groups after the adjustments that you do on an individual clip level get applied. So now that you're into this group post clip view, you simply go into your power grade on the left side and you drag that inside. And as you can see now, all our 4 nodes are there again: the adjustment, the color space transforms, and the LUT. And what you want to do next is to create your final look there. And there you can really do whatever you want. I must say, I oftentimes actually just leave it as it is, because oftentimes that film LUT alone already looks so good. But what you can do, for example, is to do a quick white balance adjustment here if you want your clips to look a little bit warmer as you would usually have them. Or let's say you want to apply another LUT. For example, if you bought my Tange LUT pack, then you can use these LUTs there, create a node at the very end and apply the LUT and then adjust the gain. Obviously, you don't want to do too much of it. And this is how you can define your look. Of course, DaVinci Resolve has tons of tools. And the nice thing here is that even if you do a super intense color grade that actually takes you some time, you can also save this color grade again as a power grade by just again clicking right on the preview image and then grab still. And I actually do that a lot. Like, I have my folder there with all my power grades, and here, for example, you see the Eterna 400 power grade. And I specifically created this power grade for my studio setup here because I record in Eterna with a dynamic range setting of 400 in my Fuji camera. So by recording with these camera settings with the same light all the time, I know that I can just throw this power grade on it and it directly looks good. So what I did in this power grade was also basically that I used this film LUT, and I also added a bit more teal to the shadows, etc., to make everything look a bit better. And this is what I would recommend you if you have looks for the same locations, or generally a look that you oftentimes want to have. Just save that after you color grade this look once, and then you will have that forever. You oftentimes still have to do some adjustments if you apply that to new clips, but it's pretty minor then. I understand everything that we did so far looks pretty complicated and like a lot of work, but you really only have to do that once, because after that you only really have to drag your power grades into your group post clip all the time again, and then you're settled there. But what you actually do have to do for each of your videos then is to switch from the group post clip back into the normal clip, and everything that you do there now gets applied before your group post clip color grade gets applied. So all you have to do there really is to quickly adjust your exposure, contrast, sometimes also saturation and white balance on a per clip base, but that goes so quick. Like, you see that here, I can just rush through my clips, look, okay, that looks a little bit too bright, so I make it a bit darker. The other clip maybe has a bit too much contrast, so I lower it a little bit, or the opposite, maybe it doesn't have enough contrast, so I give it a bit more. Maybe you have a clip there where the white balance really doesn't look good at all, and you can also quickly adjust it. And this is actually why the workflow in the long run becomes so super fast. You just apply your power grade to the group post clip, then you go to each clip of your video and you just do this quick adjustments and it's done. Like, actually the video that I just show you here, this recent vlog that I did about the Mini 3 Pro, that only took me about 30 minutes to color grade because I was able to do all those necessary adjustments so quickly to each individual clip. But as mentioned before, you sometimes have the problem with this workflow that when you get a new camera that has a new lock profile, the lock profile might not be available directly in DaVinci Resolve. I hope they add that soon for F-Log 2 in my new Fujifilm X-H2S. But what you can do to get around it is to at first skip the step on the media page completely, like don't add an input color space. Instead, you mark all those clips that you shot in this lock profile, in my case F-Log 2, and add all of those clips to a group. And then on this group level, I simply do a transform from the log to the actual Rec 709 colors by using the official LUT from the manufacturer's website. So in that case, you can use the F-Log2 to WDR LUT that's provided on the Fujifilm homepage. And then you essentially get a very similar image to using the input color space. Of course, it's not as good as actually using the input color space, but it's similar. And as you can see, I also have two nodes here. I at first have the adjustment node, and then I have the LUT node to convert that. So I can also make adjustments again to the exposure, contrast, etc. before my LUT gets applied. And that also ensures that I have a less destructive workflow because I color grade before the LUT gets applied and not after that. And what I can simply do after doing this conversion is to also drag my power grade inside here so that I have this film LUT conversion from DaVinci Resolve again. And as you can see, it actually looks really good. So that's what you can usually do with most cameras that come out and have a new log profile. But in my case, actually, because I like this Eterna profile from Fujifilm, I do that directly by simply applying the F-Log2 to Eterna LUT from Fujifilm. And I don't even apply the film look LUT anymore from DaVinci Resolve. So I like how it is there. But of course, when F-Log2 becomes available in DaVinci Resolve soon, then I will also just use the normal color managed workflow because this is what overall gives you the very best results. And aside from that, no matter what camera you're using, it's always important that you nail as much as possible already while you're shooting, especially exposure, white balance, etc., because that saves you a lot of time in post. So if you want to learn how to do that, watch this tutorial here, which is also about color grading a little bit, but there I also teach you all the steps that are necessary to save you time in post. And yeah, this video is done. It's actually the last video that I will record for the next 2.5 months here in Thailand, because I will travel to Germany, to France, Italy, Austria, and Bali in that time. So definitely subscribe for upcoming videos from my trip. Of course, also a few tutorials.